informative books as well, so like research books. I also looked at some online lectures and discussions from different astronomers around the world to see what their opinion was. In addition, I looked at newspaper and articles and scientific journals from different places, including the Royal Astronomical Society and other American societies as well. I looked at the results of several of NASA's missions, including Galileo, Cassini, and some of the Pioneer mission. I visited the Royal Observatory in Greenwich and used my knowledge from other visits in America to different places to see if I could get any more understanding of the questions. And on the 6th of February, when the planet was in a right angle to which it could be viewed, I made my own observation using my own 76mm refractive telescope, which I have a photo of here. That's me and my telescope looking at the planet Jupiter on that day. The results. In terms of the first hypothesis, I found out that it was not correct because there was a newer theory which scientists have come up and tested recently. They think it's sunlight which breaks down the chemicals instead of the altitude of different zones. So instead of one being high and the other lower, it's the sunlight which breaks down the chemicals in the bands which causes that. As for the Great Red Spot, I was proved right because other scientists also found that it is shrinking and it probably will decrease and probably won't be visible in a couple of hundreds of years. I really enjoyed this work in this project and I hope to be able to do something similar in the future. Thanks for watching the presentation. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know much about the planets.
Me neither.
I know a little bit about them, but not a lot. I just find it... my question for you is a bit of a personal one. Is why Jupiter? I understand you said you've liked it since a kid, but why that planet? I find that just fascinating.
Well, I think that the planet's pretty unique.
Yeah.
In terms of looks and in terms of composition of what's inside the atmosphere, and it's because it's different to the other gas giants, if you know.
Yeah.
And it's, as you might know, the biggest planet in the solar system, and it looks a lot different. It's unique, so that's why I chose that particular one.
Yeah, cool.
Well, at the risk of sounding stupid, because I don't have much scientific knowledge, I do remember reading something about rainbows. And what you said for the last slide there reminded me of what I read about how... Is that a similar process, the sunlight breaking down the...
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
So it's not such a stupid question. So it's...
Yeah.
Is there any connection, correlation?
Yes. The same thing happens on Jupiter, but it's not a rainbow, it's just the different colours that you can see.
And did you say that reflected the depth of the bands?
Yeah.
So is this something on the surface of Jupiter?
Yeah, it's different depth, height, different altitude each.
Oh, so that's why they thought maybe it was mountains
Yeah.
at first. All right, I'm beginning to see the picture now.
Yeah, no, my knowledge isn't enough to ask questions about it, unfortunately. Yeah, do you girls have any questions?
Have you studied any of the other planets?
Not really this much in depth, but I've looked at some of them.
Yeah.
Like, there's a similar process on Saturn, but it's a lot less, like, you can't notice the different bands because their colours are a lot similar. And the bands are a lot smaller, so it's hard to see.
Oh, so it's the fact that it's... this is something that exists, like rainbows, it exists somewhere else, that process of the sunlight breaking down the chemicals, but Jupiter is unique then because it's so much more obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you went to America and stuff, did you find, in terms of like the power of the telescopes, did you find you could do better observation over there compared to your one at home, or was your one pretty...
My one was like medium
Yeah.
magnification, but
Yeah.
the unfortunately, they didn't have any telescopes that you could use because you had to pay money to use their professional telescopes, which were like remote places.
Yeah.
Like that.
You know how you were saying about the red spot shrinking, and you showed us the pictures there, and it looked very obvious. How accurate would those first images of the size of the red spot have been? Can you really be sure it's shrinking? I mean, it seemed to be a definite trend, and I guess you got more accuracy as every year has passed.
Well, there is an obvious trend, like you said, but their telescopes at that time, like 1600, they wouldn't have been terribly powerful, but they still would have been quite powerful, probably as much as my one, or maybe even a bit more powerful.
So reasonably reliable in terms of the accurate size that they were recording.
Yeah, so I think probably quite accurate, because other scientists agree with those images too, and they take them in as reliable as well.
So they accept that. It's amazing how long people have been studying this, really. How far back? Does it go back further than Galileo?
Well,
Must
before
do.
that, it was visible in the night sky, but people didn't know what it was, and they didn't know about the planets, like before the Greeks and things like that.
No. Been studied a long time. So what do you hope to do with this in the future?
Continue doing research about other similar things, mysteries, as I like to call them.
Okay.
And maybe not about planets, maybe about galaxies or black holes or something like that.
I imagine that's quite a difficult field to get into. Well, good luck with that. Thank you, Veseline. That was very
Thanks, mate.
interesting. I've learned something again.